The GT7 release date trailer has dropped, and while the focus was on the release date, my focus was elsewhere because this short 3-minute trailer is packed with little details. Anyone old enough to have the OG PlayStation 1 Gran Turismo burned into their psyche surely got some chills when this white line and suggestive breeze graced the screen. All beautiful moments seared into my memory, and then this nod to GT3A spec with the ignition and the Castrol Supra. Not to forget the spinning Vista from the GT4 intro. This is all absolutely deliberate and designed to send a message from Polyphony Digital to you. The GT of old is back. But GT of old doesn't mean old GT. The menu once again is completely redesigned, as always for GT. It's very unique. In terms of user experience, it's clear and should be responsive. I'm just not sure if it's of the quality we expect from a mainline GT game. Ever since Gran Turismo 1, GT has opted for a classy and timeless UI. This peaked with GT Sport's near perfect menu that was so beautiful many would just leave it running in the background so they could sit back and watch it doing its thing. GT7 at this stage is breaking the mold, moving from classic cool to cutesy, and I'm not sure I like it. The menu in the announcement trailer was far superior to me. Speaking of the announcement trailer, the talking corporate headshots are making a comeback. Now, I don't know what Polyphony Digital are thinking here. Do these mugshots and text improve the game in any particular way? This screen illustrates the issue. Take away Luca and his text, and have we lost anything at all? You can see it's GT Cafe. All the information is written there in the menu. All that Luca is doing here is making us read the exact same information twice. Thanks, Luca. This does bring us nicely into the expanded campaign mode. GT7 is focusing on car collection, and it's doing this on 3 fronts: discovering, collecting, and customization. GT has always pushed you to discover all types of cars through unique requirements. You need a front-wheel drive car for the FF series, a compact car for the compact series. We see this continue in GT7 with the first screen alone of the license tests covering vastly different driving experiences and generations of cars. This continues in the earlier mentioned GT Cafe, where more unique events are found. Then there is car collection. While you will collect cars from campaign events, this event for compact cars requires collecting 3 compact cars, for example. The real collection aspect will come in the form of the used car dealership. The used car dealership changes over time, and the fun comes from checking back to see if a rare car is listed, ones that sometimes can only be found there. This is a real welcome return. Of course, when you do buy a car, you can customize it. This aspect gets a lot of attention from players, but I'm not sure many consider how this can break a racing game. I have previously covered how allowing customizations online has always led to imbalanced and unrealistic racing. But aside from that, there are other concerns. Remember, the focus of GT7 is car collection. Polyphony Digital's vision is to introduce the world of cars to players, to have them experience all car culture offers. Traditionally, in campaign mode, you start with just enough money to buy one car that will meet requirements for a few early championships. From those championships, you gain the money to buy another car that will allow you to enter different championships with different requirements. On paper, players will keep buying different cars that not only meet different requirements but also beat faster competition. That is on paper. In reality, if you can keep upgrading your current car to beat tougher and tougher events, there is no reason for you to experience other cars. You have your handful of cars that meet drivetrain requirements, and you add or remove parts to match the requirements of each event. I can hear the developers crying now. Why did we spend years and years modeling hundreds of cars when players use the same 10 cars over and over? Customization is great, but it needs to be handled with some caution. Smash that dislike button. That's about all we know so far about the campaign mode, so let's talk graphics. In this trailer there is ray tracing everywhere. Except where it counts, of course, in gameplay. But let's dive into that 22 seconds of gameplay later and take a look at those beautiful replay and scapes shots. In particular, this night section of Tokyo and their rampaging skylines. It's a short clip, but it's interesting for 3 reasons. The first is that we get to see some realistic in-game ray tracing. I say realistic because you can see where the precision of the ray tracing has been cut back for performance reasons. Notice all the sparkling bits and dots everywhere? This is what happens when you run a lower ray count and less expensive denoising. If it looked perfect, I would not believe it was real time, and with these sorts of artifacts you can really tell it's running real time on a PlayStation 5. The next two reasons why I love this clip are both to do with tyres. Both of these existed in GT Sport, but it's great to see tyre deformation with the rubber leaning away from the rims of the wheels and the flat spots appearing on the ground. This, together with the cast-off rubber on the track, makes for a great atmosphere. And that floor pan detail of that 911. Does this mean the physics will allow rollovers? I doubt it, but we can only hope. One thing that does impact physics is weather. Polyphony Digital states that they have created spatial time of day conditions for particle size distribution and concentration distribution of aerosol particles in the atmosphere on a global environmental scale. Okay, yeah, what does that mean? It's a word salad, but it does mean they have the data they need to make the tracks come alive. If the developers know in their simulation when the conditions are right for it to rain, then they must know the temperature also. Thus, they know the track temperature and how much grip there should be. Together with the rubber buildup we saw earlier and the puddles forming on track, they have all the data they need to have race tracks that evolve, that have dirty lines and sections that dry out before others. But this is just a wish list based on what seems possible. All we do know is that some tracks, maybe all, have selectable weather and time. Selectable, not dynamic. Dynamic weather would be rain starting halfway through a previously dry race, which would be just awesome. But there is no confirmation of this. Though interestingly, there is this little standing water icon that's always there when driving, even when it's dry. Why would that icon need to be there if there is no chance of rain? Stay tuned on that front. Polyphony Digital may have a surprise for us. It's Editing Formula Digital here, and Polyphony Digital certainly did have a surprise for me, because just days after the trailer dropped and when I had almost finished editing this video, interviews dropped and some important facts have been laid out. Just as I suspected, the rubber on the track is only cosmetic. That's a shame, but at least we know the devs are aware of it and it's an element they should be working on in future. Let's hope so. Also, on a disappointing note, that I was correct to say not all tracks will have dynamic weather, as other interviews have confirmed as much. This next bit though, this is fire. To quote Kazunori Yamauchi, "We do have a simulation of where the rain would create a level of water over the track. When a car passes over it, it will spray aside, and so the racing lines will dry quicker than the other parts of the track. That's something that is simulated and does affect the grip of the course accordingly as time goes on, and the track begins to dry in different places. The air temperature, the humidity, and the road surface temperature will also be affected by these weather changes as well." That's awesome news, basically wish granted. Some amazing races are possible when we have dry and wet lines combined in one amazing possibility for the daily races. After the first trailer, I criticized the draw distance and level of detail in the game, highlighting a few key sections of obvious draw-in. The good news is that in this trailer, at least at this stage, the image is completely stable in terms of draw distance, as you would expect from PS5 footage. Although they did not show any long straight sections of road, so while signs are positive, final judgment awaits on the stability of the image. So far so good though. One slightly disappointing aspect of the visuals comes in the form of temporal anti-aliasing, a smoothing technique that takes information from previous frames and applies it to the current one. It can be very distracting in racing games with fast moving objects leaving these ghost images behind, as you can see in this image right here. Hopefully this isn't too bad in the final game. The only other letdown comes far off the track and is perhaps a compromise to get this game running on PS4. The detail shown in this shot is quite jarring after looking at the beautiful scenery in the rest of the game. I get this is off track, but keep it off the center of the screen if you aren't going to spend the time on making that section look great. Again, maybe this is due to the memory and data streaming limitations of the PS4, but for PS5 owners, this is only going to disappoint. And on that note, here's some rally. I get that some people do enjoy the rally aspect of GT games, but GT should strive to be the best example of what it does, and rally doesn't cut it. In a world where Dirt 2 and WRC10 exist, rallying just has no place in Gran Turismo. Again, smash that dislike button. But enough of the negative, because GT7 is overall shaping up very well and there is still a lot to be seen yet, including that museum icon which is of interest to me. Give us something cool there, PD. Till next time, thanks for watching.